Hey everyone, welcome. So today I wanted to talk about self-sabotage and the upper limit problem. So first of all, what do these mean? Then what do these look like in our daily lives? So what does self-sabotage actually look like? When does the upper limit problem come into play? And then furthermore, what can we do to try and transcend these and to utilize this awareness to our advantage, to be able to move forward in our lives, be able to accomplish our dreams and accomplish all the things we want to do? So self-sabotage. So of course, you've obviously heard of these sayings that say you're the only one standing in your own way. There's no one else that's holding you back but you. There's no one else but you standing in your own way. And of course, we've heard all this countless number of times, and we know this conceptually, but what does this actually look like in our day-to-day life? So this is what I would describe as self-sabotage. So often you might be able to pinpoint this to times in your life where things are going so well. You might have an amazing relationship, maybe your business is really taking off, you're having an influx of an incredible flow of abundance, of money. Your health might be the best it's ever been, you're exercising regularly, you're feeling in such a flow, you're eating good foods that are nourishing to your body, and things are going so well. And it could even just be one of these things. So maybe you've just really honed in on getting your health and fitness in a good spot and you're feeling really, really good about that, and you're at such a point of peace and wellness. And then you might notice that all of a sudden you do something to counteract that. So you do something to self-sabotage yourself. It's almost like things are going too good, that you need to bring it down a notch. And you may have experienced this a lot of times in your life, and this is very common because most of the time we are living in our ego state. And our ego state loves drama, loves conflict. And when we are so aligned and are living from our soul state, from a place of peace and love and alignment, there's not much conflict that comes about. And if it does, even if there is a conflict that may appear like a conflict outside of ourselves, our perception of it is not a conflict. So it almost gets to a point where this amount of wellness and peace and success is so unfamiliar to us that it's discomforting. It's actually really uncomfortable for us to be living in such a state of peace and wellness that we, as humans, this is uncomfortable. We want to come back to a place of comfort that feels normal to us, that feels like home to us, which for so many years has been a state of drama and conflict and self-sabotage. So we immediately go back to that to feel this sense of comfort and peace with something that we are familiar with. So the first and foremost, it's important to be aware of this and that it happens, and to know when it's happening in your life. So first step is just to be aware that this problem exists, and all of us experience this from one capacity to another. But then secondly, it's to see, okay, how does this actually play out in my life? So for example, for me, I notice I have a lot related to food. So if I'm feeling really good, nourishing my body really well, I'm exercising from a very intuitive place, really listening to my body, and I feel so at peace and so good, all of a sudden I decide that, okay, I can eat this food that I know is going to make me feel bad from a physical point of view, in the sense that a food, if I eat something really high in sugar, I usually feel extremely sluggish after. I feel my stomach doesn't feel very good. And so I notice that I do this because I'm like, well, things are going really well, I feel really good, I can do something to kind of like slack off. And there's one view of it being sort of a great analogy to use is when you're sick and you're taking an antibiotic or a medication and you start to feel a lot better, and then so you decide, okay, I don't need to be taking the medication anymore because I'm feeling great. So you stop taking medication, and then you realize that so you stop taking the medication, and then you don't feel good anymore. Things are getting worse. And then so it's a no-brainer to think that, well, of course you're feeling better because you were taking the medication. So you have to keep taking the medication. So this is the same idea. It's parallel to whatever practices you do. So that's eating good food, exercising regularly, having your morning ritual or meditation, taking a walk out in nature, all these things that make you feel good. This is your medication. This is what you need to keep doing in order to feel good. So one view of it is that we just think that, well, I'm doing really well, I don't need this anymore, so I can just let it go. But the other view of it is that we actually, kind of linking back to where I started this video, we actually cannot handle that amount of success and wellness. So we self-sabotage ourselves. Again, our ego is craving this conflict, this drama. So we want to seek that pain. It's this addiction to suffering and to this addiction to suffering and to this discomfort and a life of drama and conflict. So again, we know the things that don't do us well, and so when things are going amazing in our lives, we start to bring in those things that we know are going to make us feel worse because we can't handle this level of success and wellness. So this kind of brings me to the second point of this video, which is the upper limit problem. There's a lot of different names for this as well. The upper limit problem is one that has stuck with me. And basically the idea of this is that we have subconsciously created a limit. We've created a limit for the amount of financial success we can have, for the abundance of love and meaningful relationships in our life we can have. We've created a limit for the amount of happiness we can feel, the amount of joy we can feel in our life, and for the amount of peace we can feel. We've created a limit for everything. And so what happens is that when we surpass this limit, so something incredible happens in our life, an incredibly joyful event, or an incredible, gathering of people that make us feel extremely ecstatic and elated, this may have caused us to surpass our subconscious limit of happiness and joy. And so then when this happens, our bodies can't handle this, really our ego can't handle this amount of joy and success, so we self-sabotage ourselves to bring us back down to this limit that we've created. So you may have experienced, maybe you have a day that was completely just over the moon incredible. You were doing all these things that you loved, you were meeting with people that you loved, you had incredibly in-depth conversations, you just felt like you were absolutely killing it, and you were over the moon with this thing called life. And then maybe the next couple of days you found yourself kind of falling to a bit of a slump, feeling a bit depressed, falling down from this high, sort of. So the concept of this is that it's almost like we're taking a drug that we're not used to having, and it's creating this temporary effect that then we fall down from. And it's really, again, tying into the first part of this video, that we're not used to. Our body is not familiar with this amount of success and joy and ecstatic bliss of living. And again, the most important piece is to be aware that this is happening, and then to do things that will help you to transcend this. So 6 months ago was the first time I ever sort of got in tune with this upper limit problem. Well, the first time I ever heard of it and was educated about what this meant. But then it took up until, it was a process for the past 6 or 7 months, but it took it up until today, or maybe 2 days ago, to really, something clicked for me, where I finally saw, from a higher state, I finally saw how I was really self-sabotaging myself in every way, because it was like too easy. It was almost like life was too peaceful and life was too good, that I needed to bring myself down to this limit that I was used to. And what worked for me, well, first of all, I kind of just got to this point of, I'm sick of this bullshit. I'm so miserable, and I knew it was all there are a few things, of course, that had to clear up and change within my external life, but it was me that was standing in my own way, that was not allowing myself to feel the amount of bliss and peace that I could in my life. And so basically, I got to the point where I was just sick of the bullshit, and I'm like, I am ready. I am willing to have a life full of peace and wellness that comes with such ease and grace. I am ready for that. And this practice has been extremely important for me. And this is what helps one to transcend this self-sabotage and this upper limit problem, because you start to invoke a life of peace and wellness. You're familiarizing your body with, like, I'm willing to live a life full of peace and love and ease and flow, and to actually start envisioning what this looks like. So take a moment to close your eyes and envision what it looks like to live a life full of peace. Maybe you're waking up every morning, taking a few minutes just to breathe, maybe just to be outside and take a peaceful moment, and then to eat your breakfast in peace, eat a nourishing breakfast, then maybe do a little bit of exercise, and then head into what you have planned for the day, to be taking in every moment in full presence, and to start envision what this looks like, being surrounded by people that are inspiring, that love you, you're doing all the things that you love, a financial abundance is coming in so fluidly and effortlessly for you, and to spend that time to close your eyes and see the picture. And what's going on here is that you start to familiarize your body with this, and this starts to become your new limit. And essentially there really is no limit, but you start to create this new norm. So when it actually happens in your regular physical day-to-day life, you're not shocked by it. So you don't immediately go into this, oh my God, your body doesn't go into this, what is this? This is discomfort, this is unfamiliar. I want to come back down to my comfortable norm, which is miserable and kind of being addicted to the suffering and wanting to have pain and conflict and drama in my life because this is comforting, this is the only thing that I know, this is home to me. So that's really helped me, because you envision what you expect or want from your life, and then so when it happens in real life, you're like, oh, I've already been here before. This is no big deal. This is what I'm used to. So then you're able to kind of create a new limit and also be able to stay there. So you're not having these highs and then falling back down again because of this self-sabotage. Your body was actually really shocked by the amount of joy and elation and bliss that you come back down again. And then you come back up, and there's a lot of this going on. So I experienced this a ton in the past few months because my ego was not used to having so much bliss and love in my life, that I had to self-sabotage myself in some way. And I know for me, it was always my form of self-sabotage was food, like I had mentioned a lot. So not only physically making me feel unwell, but also mentally and emotionally, of course. And this just setting me back. So, and of course you've heard of the quote that says, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, but is that we are powerful beyond measure or beyond belief. I think that's the exact quote. I might have butchered it, but I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. And it's incredibly true. It's that we are not familiar with living a life of extreme success and peace and bliss. So we go back to what is familiar to us, which is our ego state, and we self-sabotage ourselves in that way. So I think that's kind of it for this video. Kind of some take homes to take from this is to start to see which areas in your life you may be self-sabotaging yourself. So this could be letting go of a practice that you know is really important for your well-being, whether that's doing some exercise, going walks in nature, and when you start to feel really good, you're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. It could be eating foods that aren't good for you when you start to feel really good. You start to then introduce foods that do not fulfill you and do not nourish you and fuel you in a conscious way. It could be also more or less obvious ways, or less direct or conscious ways. I've had people who start to have extreme success in their life, in every aspect of their life, and then all of a sudden they fall really ill. So they have a physical sickness. And again, this is, the self-sabotage coming through you and manifesting physically to pull yourself back to that limit. And there are also some incredible stories of, there's statistics on this. I don't know the exact statistics off the top of my hand, but that people that win the lottery, so like I said, we create a limit for the amount of financial abundance, amount of joy, everything that we can in our life. People that win the lottery and all of a sudden have like millions of dollars, there's actually being statistics shown that the majority of people that win the lottery, within an X number of years, they actually come back down to their regular financial status that they had before they won the lottery, or even lower than that. And again, it's this concept that we don't know our bodies are not used to handling this amount of success and wonder, that we feel we need to come back to this comfort zone of this limit that we've created for ourselves. So yeah, getting familiar with which areas in your life you may be self-sabotaging yourself, and then starting to incorporate this practice of I am willing to live a life full of love, abundance, and peace, and to live a life full of grace and ease, and to incorporate this mantra into your daily life, and to have time to envision what you want in your life, so that it becomes this norm. Not only are you then calling it in, but when it does happen, you're not shocked by it, and you're able to flow fluidly in this state, versus the drop and the high and the drop and the high, because this has just become your new way of being. So having those moments to close your eyes and really envision what it looks like to live this life that you really desire. So just something to think about today. I hope you found that sort of helpful. I know it took me a really long time before I started to really feel really start to implement changes in my life, following this rule, and these ideas of self-sabotage and the upper limit problem. It took me a while to actually kind of click to the reality of how much I'm self-sabotaging myself, and truly to see that it was because having this amount of peace and easeful living was quote unquote boring, because the ego is so used to conflict and rushing and drama and doing all of these things, and for things to be going wrong and to be just so dramatic. And life doesn't need to be that way, and life isn't that way, but the ego desires this conflict and this drama. So starting to really wake up to that and see that I don't want that. Like, I don't want to have this being so hard with so much resistance and so much conflict. Like, I want this easeful life. And it got, like I said, got to the point for me where it was exhausting and so miserable that there was no other choice but to just say I'm done with this, and I'm ready to have a life full of peace and flow. So I'm starting to repeat myself now, so I think I'm just gonna end it there. But thank you so much for listening. If you made it to this point, I hope you found something here that might be beneficial for you, and I look forward to making more of these videos. And I please welcome your feedback if anything resonated with you, if you had anything that you would like to share, a story. Oh my god, I would love to hear if you have a story or something related to this that you would like to share that could help others as well. So again, thank you for listening, and I wish you a wonderful day.